Before the good people of Strongsville start accusing me of making up a far out story to defend some chick who put a spell on me, I want to show you something, okay? This is evidence of neurological tampering. It comes from the same region and the same administrative arrangements. I have produced an authentic piece of writing from when I was 14 years old about the impact that this neurochemical had on me. There is no question that Mackenzie Shirilla went through something very similar prior to the tragic accident. Okay. Now, you may say that I'm dismissing the grounds for justice from the other victims. Dominic and Davian look like great fellows, but I abhor the abandonment of Mackenzie Shirilla by the victims' families. She loved them. Tragically, these men were older than her and knew. You can't convince me they didn't know that she was on heavy hallucinogens. She talked about it in her Facebook page, I'm told. That does make them complicit in what was going on, but it doesn't make them guilty. It doesn't make her guilty of anything other than making themselves vulnerable to the kind of neurological tampering that took place through the use of illegal narcotics. She never should have been driving. And it's very difficult for me to sustain the impression that she and she alone knew about the psilocybin in the car. I don't believe that there's anything to show that she and she alone knew about the psilocybin in the car. I don't believe there's anything to corroborate the idea that these boys didn't know that she was taking intense hallucinogens. Now, these hallucinogens appear to have been tampered with. The same exact belief that my mind was rescuing me seems to have taken place in Mackenzie. She seems to think she survived a terrifying drug ingestion. She was just a child. You say she was a minor, 17 years old. What kind of barbarism would allow, unquestioned, a minor, by their own admission, to be subject to a tampered neurochemical, tampered or not, a hallucinogen that induces such a terrifying state of an extreme situation? It subtracts from your psychological development and reduces you to childhood phantoms. The mind can't comprehend that. An adult, I would not, under any circumstances, give to an adult what was given to me as a child. And it terrifies me that it so resembles Mackenzie. Now, there's evidence that this was sandwiched into a long-standing dispute with a hallucinogen merchant in the legal services at the University of Pittsburgh named Mackenzie by his friends in law school, including Wattenmaker, who was a prison official to whom the poison that was given to me as a child was traced. That's right, the poisonous hallucinogen that induced an extreme Holocaust survivor syndrome traces back through a Holocaust survivor who used LSD as part of his therapy to an Attica State prison psychiatrist living in Pittsburgh. And here, the party involved in the Jericho movement put this on me, and they had a girl named Mac at the clubhouse. That's not all that common to have happen. Now, the people who used this experiment on me later complained that I now have Parkinson's from something they used to chemically castrate me, that they had a right to use me for an experiment on Mount Desert Island in the 1980s because they said I was dangerous from a neurochemical they had given me. And Robert Fripp of King Crimson and Roger Waters and Yoko Ono all got involved in this. And they all said, these are media weapons experts, that the virginity of the girl who I left untouched proved that I was a rapist. And to prove that, they needed to trigger the neuroplasm. So they brought in a girl who basically boffed me into seizures. And they still didn't prove anything even remotely like what they were calling defiant trespass. So they needed to get the bomb to go off somehow. They needed to show that the hallucinogens that they were forcing on children, that they were secretly poisoning people like Mackenzie with, proved they were dangerous and that therefore they had to get rid of these children. And the Ohio State administration made the decision to overlook the terrifying drugs that Mackenzie was poisoned with, or to even consider the possibility of neurochemical hypnosis. Now, why would they do that? The University of Pittsburgh put on the cover of their newspaper, the Pitt News, an admission to being using neurohypnosis. They had a motive in discharging the sort of violence through neurohypnosis. They had a huge motive that pertains to me. And the evidence shows that they were making a hybrid statement. They were connecting Mackenzie Shirilla through the girl Mac, through other things, issues of deceit and processes. They were connecting her to me like as on a dare. It's performance art for them. Clint Eastwood has caused, in my opinion, clearly implicated himself, at least, in a very serious accident that someone emerged from here as a stunt. And he sent me an autographed picture of himself afterwards, which had a smoking gun. His autograph was the smoke coming out of a gun. Her name was Shirley Williams. Now, in light of this hybrid crime art statement that they've made, I feel strongly that the victims' families should pull together a consciousness of what probably really happened and rescue Mackenzie. She was one of the 3 people who was car bombed. It's not a tribute to the legacy of the dead to blame another victim who was used for sport by neurochemical hypnosis in administrative wargaming. That's what I believe. And I don't believe this other story. I don't believe the story of Mackenzie going out with malice aforethought to check out the circumstances because she was going to crash and kill them. I don't believe that. I believe Mackenzie was operating under neurohypnosis. She was operating under neurohypnosis that was primed to cause a seizure, a fixate, an idea fixate that caused her to seize. And she needs help. She needs help to protect her from this chemical weapon that was used on her. She needs assistance and rescue from a deranged act by somebody who tortured me. They tortured me. And they're trying to get the upper hand. I don't know how to explain any better than at 5 o'clock in the morning. or 6 o'clock in the morning than to show you the evidence of a ringmaster behind this outrage. Please rescue Mackenzie. I realize there are concerns about somebody who was involved in a deadly crash. They're reasonable and rational concerns, but I don't believe your story. I'm not trying to tar the victims by saying that they were complicit. I'm just trying to show that there are questions regarding awareness of what was done to her that are being swept under the carpet in order to protect their reputations senselessly and needlessly. Admitting that she was in trouble, that she was being poisoned, and that the boys knew some aspects of it but were normalizing it as peer drug use is not blaming the victims. It's telling the truth about a very scary operation that we all need to recognize and protect each other from. Obviously, we should be saying no to drugs, but we should be also saying no to victimizing people through neurohypnotic chemicals by administrative wargaming, which is what really seems to have been done to poor Mackenzie Shirilla, who was not only a minor, but she was traumatized by a neurochemical that she did not understand. And I don't believe the experts in Ohio who could possibly understand would dare to implicate themselves against the powerful group of people at the University of Pittsburgh, who, in my opinion, very clearly and sadistically pulled this thing as a hybrid war game. The dispute I have had with these people goes way, way back. And it involves men, including Mackenzie, Dr. Mackenzie and his son in brain research, and a gang that brought in from the University of Pittsburgh administrative headquarters a heavyweight Ohio State trooper when I began complaining about Wattenbaker, who created the nerve agent that induced an extreme situation for Kazetnik's circle. Why would they bring in somebody from Ohio? These places are very close in connected administratively. Weidenmaker was from Attica State Prison, but he was living in Pittsburgh, and he was defended by Ohio State troopers. When he was shown to have manufactured the chemical that made me think I survived only because my mind rescued me, the exact same symptom in Mackenzie Shirilla's testimony. And they gave me this in defense of their operation as a taunt and as a brag. You see, the problem isn't that I became worked up with the tragedy and the sight of Mackenzie and grief. The truth is, I think I see what really happened. And you have not convinced me that I'm wrong. What I see is a seizure at the wheel of a car. And you invented the idea that some sort of premeditated malice was at work, when there's evidence of neurohypnosis by people who tortured me. You cannot discount the name signifier Mackenzie or the motive of Pitt administration working with the Ohio State troopers. Their motive was to ingeniously make me look like I was potentially violent so that they could justify terribly cruel, sadistic, predatory acts on me after they poisoned me. And Mackenzie was a demonstration project in their ability to use neurohypnosis like a car bomb. I pity Mackenzie. I truly pity her. She has been disgracefully abandoned by her peers who won't even admit that they all knew that she had been through a terrible ordeal using hallucinogens. They all knew. They knew. Their admission to knowing is in the way they presented it as evidence against her.